Today, we are talking about how overwhelmed entrepreneurs can simplify, systematize their business through automation, delegation, and systemization. My guest is Mike Abramowitz. He is an expert in all of those topics, written 9 different books, and he's going to teach you exactly how to do it. I'll tell you about them more in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show. You know, if you've listened to some of my past episodes, every week I feature smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs of companies and organizations ranging from Netflix to Kinko's, YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard. Got all kinds of great episodes back there. I've had also experts in systemization and automation, which is what we're going to be talking about here today. And of course, this episode brought to you by Rise25, my company where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. And my guest is Mike Abramowitz. He's an accomplished author, speaker, coach, and philanthropist. You know, he's got a crazy story. So he and his wife in the New Year's Eve, his wife gives birth to their son. And we were just talking about this beforehand, only 26 weeks old, and end up spending about 8.5 months in the NICU, just keeping him alive. Just a crazy story. We're going to get into it. And of course, Mike, when any kind of change like that, you have to modify your lifestyle. His wife becomes a medical mom, has to support the child. And so what he ended up doing is helping to automate, delegate, and systematize. And now he helps others to do that as well. So we're going to talk all about that. And as I mentioned, also the author of 9 different books, been featured in a lot of different media publications, co-host of the Better Than Rich Show podcast. I love podcasters. Go check it out. And so, Mike, I love having you here today. I can't wait to dive into your story, but I also love hearing those stories of entrepreneurship as a young kid. And never before have I had someone on this show who actually had a vending machine in their house and then threw parties in high school for the ulterior motive of selling out that vending machine. You had some fun stuff in that vending machine. So tell us all about it.
Sure. I saw the vending machine at a garage sale. And by the way, John, thanks for having me here. And I saw the vending machine in the garage sale. It was $50. And, I told my mom, I was like, let's get this vending machine. So we put it in our back room in our house. And at first, my mom was my best client. You know, I'd fill it up with all of her favorite snacks. And she was my best client. I was like, this is get rich slow. So I filled up the vending machine. I went to Planned Parenthood and put a bunch of condoms in the vending machine, put a bunch of candy bars in the vending machine.
Did you get the condoms for free too?
Oh yeah, I got them for free.
Free condoms.
And then yeah. I would buy the candy bars for like 4 for $1 when they went on sale, and I would put them in there and sell them for like 75 cents each. And then my older sibling, her older friend, would go get a keg, and I would pay them to get the keg. So I'd have to front load a little bit of cash. And then I would sell it $5 a cup, a solo cup for people to come in. I would throw a big giant party. I would have 80 to 100 kids come through at $5 a cup. On the keg. And then I would put a sign in one of our back rooms, our guest room, and I would rent out the guest room and let them go do their business in the guest room if they wanted to. And the condoms were in the vending machine. And I would walk away making $400, $500, $600 profit on a party. I did that probably, 7 times during my junior, senior of high school. So that was my version of a lemonade stand.
Never before have I had someone say that they had a vending machine full of condoms in their back room, and that's how they made money as a kid. But it's the first time for everything. So this makes total sense. Like naturally, that would lead into selling knives through Cutco. So you end up joining Cutco. Now, Cutco, for those of you who don't know, I've had a number of guests on the show who work for Cutco. Has an amazing training program, and they sell knives to individual, but these are really high quality knives. How did you get attracted to that?
So interesting enough, I applied in Tampa and I did not get accepted for the position. And now, granted, I actually had a big fro. I had cornrows when I applied for the position at first. I did not get accepted, moved back up to New Jersey for that summer and started working in New Jersey. And I got a letter in the mail up in New Jersey, and they advertised me, went in for the interview. And I started selling Cutco to friends and family, doing initial appointments. They had a base pay, so they were paying me just to do the appointment. And I would do the presentation, people bought the knives. I ended up selling about $350,000 worth of Cutco through college, funded
Wow.
my education, and then I advanced into management and started teaching students how to sell Cutco. So as a student manager, I ended up, I was responsible for probably about $2 million in sales as a college kid before I graduated from the University of South Florida with my degree in industrial engineering with a minor in leadership studies. So it was a great way to pay my way through college. And then when I graduated, they offered me a career position to do this as a career, to teach young students, to recruit students and teach them how to do what I did as a college kid. So that's exactly what I've done now since I was 22. So I'm 38. And so it's been a really great post-college experience, as well as a really great college experience, just to learn all the necessary skills that students really should learn.
I guess the
Sales,
question
entrepreneurship.
is, I guess the question is, why didn't you just, fill up the vending machine with the knives and just like let that be the seller?
Maybe, maybe, but yeah, it is a phenomenal place. It's a great playground for young professionals, 17 to 22-year-olds, just to get their feet wet and learning sales and entrepreneurship. And
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful for for the company to provide that opportunity for me.
It's interesting that you eventually, for a confluence of reasons, got into what you do now, which is helping others with automation, delegation, systemization, because sales is not an area that you would normally think that you can automate a lot of different pieces of it, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, yeah, being in direct sales, it's nearly impossible. Like I was the bottleneck for all of, when I graduated college in 2008, I started my own Cutco office. So from 2008 till about 2015, I did everything. And the challenge with doing everything is I also was neglecting my relationship with my significant other. The market collapsed in 2008. I had these rental properties at the time that I invested in, and they were just hemorrhaging money. So trying to dedicate time to like my personal passion projects or feeding the homeless. I started a nonprofit called BB&J for Tampa Bay, where we fed the homeless once a month. And now we're over 100,000 meals we provided with that. And it's like, I wanted to write books. I want to travel. I want to speak. I want to have kids one day. Like it was just impossible for me to do that being the cog in my machine. So I hired a coach back in 2015, 2016, just to start teaching me some of like, how can I win back some of my time and free up my time and systemize my business a little bit. And 2016 to 2017, 2018, I was really getting into it. And then 2019, we were the #1 office in the country in Cutco sales. And then I was like, cool, I could start winning back my time. My wife and I, we got married in 2017, started winning back my time a little bit, but then COVID hit in 2020. And it was like, all systems go. Let's really apply all the things that I learned, having my virtual assistant team and putting in automation and technology in place that was almost taboo in direct sales. Like no one does that in direct sales. And we did. And we, give you an idea, the record in our category was like 2.6 million that stood for over a decade. And we did $2.5 million that year. So nearly breaking an all-time record and just crushed it. And then
Are you talking about in 2020?
2020 during COVID, we just absolutely crushed it.
And what was it? I mean, if these knives have been sold a certain way, direct sales, face to face for so long, was it because you were able to save time, not having to travel to different appointments and doing it virtually?
So we recruited almost 1,000 kids that year because everyone was looking for work. So we were providing jobs to all these students to be able to work from home. And then because I put all these systems in place on how to virtualize the demo. So the demonstration typically is in home at the kitchen table, demonstrate, but I was really pioneering how do we virtualize the demonstration of the knives over Zoom and on virtual? And also how do we recruit these kids through Zoom interviews? So I was already doing that before anybody even really did Zoom because I wanted to work from home. So being able to implement some of that before was the cool thing to do and just boom, be able to drop the load on the company saying, hey, this is what we do. I had a team of foreign assistants doing all my admin work overseas because I didn't want my staff that was here stateside to be doing admin work. I wanted them to be customer facing and client facing and recruit facing. So I had these virtual assistants doing all the admin work, having some automation put in place for like reminder sequences and text messages, follow up appointments and inbox management, social media messages, like all these things that we were just put in place. It was just really dialed in like a machine. And then, as you mentioned,
pandemic hits,
My
Yeah.
my son was born at 26
Yeah.
weeks.
So it's
and
kind
we
of
were in
back
the
to back. You
hospital.
had these two massive shifts in your life and your business. First, the pandemic, and then your son is born New Year's Eve of 2020, 2021. Talk about that.
Well, that's when I said, all right, I'm out. Like, I'm out of the business. I'm going to be in the hospital with my son and my wife. And I just delegated everything to my staff. And I said, let's see if the systems work.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I didn't care because this was the most important, time of my life to be present with my wife and my son. But for 8.5 months, my business still did over 6 figures in net profits without me there. And that's when we got out of the hospital, September 10th of 2021. I called up my coach, now business partner, and I said, we have got to teach people how to do this. Like, I literally removed myself from my business and still made over 6 figures in profits and over 250,000 in revenue without me there. We got something here. Everything you showed me how to do, let's package this up and start teaching this to other busy entrepreneurs to help them win back their time. And that's what I went full tilt and started doing in 2022, really end of 2021 into 2022, started teaching this, started helping people, and now serving 61 clients at the moment, helping them do pretty much what I did in my Cutco operation. It's just been really, really cool to see because I didn't know there was a need in the marketplace. So right now at this moment, right now, May of 2023, my Cutco office runs fully without me, just like it did in 2020 and 2021. Except I still have that going, but now I have that time to replace my wife's income and then some, teaching other business owners how to do what I did. It's really been cool.
In some ways, you're the ultimate example, because if something that was as face-to-face and not delegatable as direct face-to-face sales, if there are still pieces of that you can delegate, that you can automate, that you can systematize, that you can remove yourself from, then I suppose lots of other professions could as well. What are some of the big barriers when you talk to someone who hasn't done a good job of removing themselves from the business? What are like the mental blocks and other barriers that they usually raise?
The number one was working on the business versus in the business. So I started dedicating time to just reimagine what was. So I would create flow charts of like, all right, what are all the if thens of the business, and just breaking it down to each interaction that a recruit goes through or a client goes through, the recruit journey or the client journey, and also onboarding a new staff. Like, what is that journey step by step, and really creating a flow chart of what that looks like. And then asking individual questions around that. It's like, how could we find a team member or tech to do that doesn't involve me? So that's where it started. That was number one, creating those flow charts and making the time to work on the business. Number two was, this is a hard one, but letting go of control. Being a control freak of where I have to be in charge of everything. That was really tough, where I said, okay, how can I simplify this in a way where somebody else can do it? So I came up with these 3 questions. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? And how will I know? And anytime I offloaded it to a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid or a virtual assistant, I just came up with those 3 questions. All right, what are you going to do? I'm going to do this. When? How will I know? They'll send me screenshots, they'll send me recordings, or they'll update a report or whatever it might be. And then it was just back and forth of let's work through that. Let's make that better. Let me help you improve that. So I would let go of control of things, but I would still be in the know because they created those boundaries. So that was really important right away. And the last one was this tech stuff wasn't really my forte, but using these tools like Calendly, that was like a game changer versus like constantly reacting to like text, hey, look, book an appointment, let's find a time. And then like WhatsApp.
By the way, that is a huge barrier. Just that one right there. There's so many. I mean, it baffles me. People that run massive businesses and still they're messaging back and forth with someone trying to find a time themselves personally.
It's bananas. And here's one. Every time a sales representative has a question, most people, they have a text phone. They send a text to their phone, but we used WhatsApp. So we had an internal communication. Sometimes it's Slack or Go Group Me or whatever, but we were using WhatsApp and we still do. So there was a channel, and that representative just communicates to the channel, and who's in that channel? 12 other staff members are in that same channel with that one representative. Call that representative a recruit or a client, whatever you want. So that way I wasn't the bottleneck. any one of those 12 people could respond to that one recruit. So if we have 1,000 people who are selling and that thousand people need help, and I'm the only one that they're reporting to, there's a problem. I couldn't serve them. So I put all staff members in that channel. So that way anybody could respond to that person if they needed to. And it was individualized to that one human. So yeah, my staff is in 1,000 different channels, let's call it. But there was a system behind it. We built it up into pods and we organize it. But these are just examples of we decided we could systemize anything if we simplify it. There are tech solutions that are very, very simple that could be implemented for very inexpensive. They're very inexpensive. And then just making sure I designated the time to work on the business, not just in the business, so I could reimagine some things and look at flow charts and try to see how we can involve team and tech to win back some of my time.
It's funny because when you mentioned that, just the philosophy of having communication be open so that multiple people can weigh in and can answer a question. It requires a bit of a shift from people that are used to communicating one to one. But once you get used to it, personally, to me, it's like a pet peeve now if someone messages me one-on-one, because I know that I can't, that puts more things on that person's plate. I end up having all these things on my plate, and it's this mental energy that I need to follow up on this one piece, versus if it's a message that has multiple people, like on a WhatsApp or Slack or something like that, then I know that someone else might chime in and help with that particular concern before I can even get to it. And it takes that mental energy away from me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's almost like office hours. That's pretty much what I created for myself. There's 30-minute block. It's like, hey, I'm going to handle the inbox during this block of time. Everything else, hey, I'm not going to be available. And they knew that. It's communicated to those 12 staff members. So that way it's, hey, you guys are in charge of this, but I'll jump in at this 30-minute block each day. And then I would have one-on-one conversations with them, each of those 12 staff members, and then one group meeting, an all departments meeting, another department meeting. So what used to be where I would dedicate 60 hours a week on doing everything, it started breaking down to like 40 and then 30 and then 20 and then 10 and then 5. Last year was 2.5. I just ran 5 30-minute meetings. And this year it's completely zero, completely offloaded, brought in an operator who's never worked in vector marketing or Cutco cutlery. And she's doing a great job completely running full point on operations. And then I have my department managers, and each of those department managers have virtual assistants to handle their admin. And it's just a really cool model. And it's taboo in direct sales, network marketing. Like no one does that, but it's able to produce last year without doing 2.5-hour meetings. That's it. Produced over 6. It was right at 98,000 in profits that I got last year without me there to free me up to do the other things that are really important, like raising our son and replacing my wife's income and doing this other business startup to teach other busy entrepreneurs.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's kind of a hustle culture that is celebrated in this culture, where people will say like, oh, I'm just grinding. And part of this is like kind of 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss kind of stuff that that he kind of uncovered in his original book. But how much is that a struggle when you're working with these clients to help them get past that mentality of, to work a lot of hours equates to some kind of self-worth or means that I'm working harder on the business and therefore is good?
All I would say to that person is, if you wanted to work hard, you can still work hard, but I would work hard in the right area. So all I would say is do $1 per hour activity. And we would do $1 per hour activity. What's your time worth? Let's say if they wanted to make $250,000 a year, they wouldn't work a certain amount of hours in a certain amount of weeks. We figure out what their $1 per hour is. Let's say it's $120 an hour. Great. What are all the tasks that are under $120 an hour that you could pay someone else to do? What are all the tasks that are over $120 an hour that you enjoy doing? What drains your energy? What brings your energy up? So if you want to work really hard, that's great. Just work really hard intelligently in the things that bring you more energy and also bring you more revenue, and making sure that you're delegating all those things that drain your energy and also are not revenue producing activities. Anything that you really enjoy doing that you want to dedicate your time to, but doesn't make you money, those are hobbies. Good. You could work hard in your hobbies too, if you want, but just be intelligent with how you're monitoring your time and monitoring your energy and put $1 to it. And I think that could help with a little bit of revelation there.
Right. This is something similar that I advise with our clients when they are starting to create content like we do through a podcast. I used to, when I first started with podcasting, I did every different piece. And I eventually realized that I'd much rather do this. This is what gives me energy, is talking to someone like you and then taking all the other pieces off of my plate. Of course, it's different for every, different business, every different individual. What is the highest leverage use of their time, what they should be spending the time on? I want to ask you, you work with all kinds of different entrepreneurs. Is that a challenge to work with all different types of entrepreneurs rather versus like saying, we're only going to work with, people that are in direct sales or one particular industry?
It's a good question. It's something that we really kind of, my business partner and I were toying with for a little while, trying to pigeonhole ourselves into a vertical because we wanted to be one niche and this is who we serve. But what we found is just by like opening up our services to anyone is we did find our niche, but that niche is overwhelmed, busy, time stretched entrepreneur, and the industry didn't matter because the principles are the exact same. Do they have to hire staff? In most cases, even if they're a solopreneur, they need to onboard some sort of staff. So they need to have an onboarding system. Do they have some sort of client that they serve? Yes, then they're probably going to need some sort of prospecting system. So we just help them with their prospecting system and their lead gen and their sales and their onboarding and their staffing and their retention and their training. Those are pretty much staples. Do they know what their KPIs or KRAs of their business? And is that documented? So the solution to the problem of busy, time-stretched, overwhelmed entrepreneurs is going to be the same, regardless of their industry. They just need to have a desire to want to win back that time. That's the only thing that matters most. So do they know I am a cog in my machine, or I'm spending time on energy draining, low wage activities? I got to win back some of that time. And as long as that's the staple for any client that we're serving, then we obviously can help them because there's enough pain for them to want to change.
Now, you just mentioned KRAs. I've heard of OKRs and KPIs. What's KRAs?
A key result area is what
just another term.
Just another way of saying the same thing. Yeah.
Got it. And then you mentioned WhatsApp earlier. Are there any other tools or software that you're a fan of? Or are you more tool agnostic?
My business partner handles a lot of the technology. I'm very much a Google Sheets guy. I built my entire $2.5 million year Cutco operation there off of Google Sheets. So WhatsApp, Calendly, but there are several that we like. I would say I use Thinkific a lot for our learning management software. So a lot of our videos, so I'll record, Loom is a great tool. So Loom, we record our videos on Loom, and then we will have our virtual assistant team upload those into Thinkific. And Thinkific, we use Zapier a lot. So Zapier will send communication. We use texting based for our texting platform. So Zapier will communicate between Thinkific and texting base. So that way, as soon as somebody needs to get communicated that a new module is up or that they have access to it, it will speak to each other. So that way they'll get a text, they'll get access to the videos, and all the videos are in one place. So we use Thinkific to host the videos. We use Loom to record the videos. We'll use Zapier for the technologies to speak one another, texting based to send the text messages. Everything I just said is like combined under $100 a month. So it's like for less than $100 a month, that just took away like probably 3 humans' jobs and saves me a ton of money and a ton of time because it's all happening instantaneously without me having to do it. I just had to set it up one time.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of a few technologies that we use and that we like a lot. There's probably more, but those are off the top right now.
I love that you're capturing these trainings, ideas, philosophy, strategies in a video, in a Loom video, and then putting them into a members area. My business partner, Jeremy, and I were just doing this morning, actually, and we keep a board. Speaking of tools, I love ClickUp. So we use ClickUp. We have a board of just common questions that come up, and then we'll meet once or twice a week and talk about, okay, what's the most urgent common question that we haven't yet created a video training on. And we'll spend that hour just recording that training and putting it in there. And then, our team can then refer people back to it, just like, as you said, and you use Thinkific in that way. And that's so great because then that really frees you up from having to, it's a resource you can point people to the next time the question comes up.
Yeah, our version is Asana. We use Asana for that. And some people use Trello. ClickUp is really popular as well. Another technology we really like is our CRM. We use Active Campaign, and it works pretty well because we could send like a text to join through Active Campaign, which is really helpful. So it's like text word to phone number, and then that way they could subscribe and join our list, and that triggers an automated email to them. So easy way to capture some people's information and be able to market to them. So Active Campaign is a helpful resource there, but Texting Base has an autoresponder that works well too, to have a feature like that. So
Yeah. All right. Last
yeah.
question on geeking out on tools. So
Yeah, for sure.
we are big fans of Suite Process, which we use for SOP capturing. I know there's others that are coming out these days that are that will even take like a Loom video and then using some AI will create like a step-by-step process from that Loom video, which just sounds like kind of a game changer. Any particular SOP software that you like?
Yeah, actually our virtual assistant team uses one, and it's slipping my mind at the second. So that's not
By the way,
great,
that's the best answer of all.
But they exactly do that. So a client records a Loom video, sends it to the VA, and the VA puts the video into the software, into the AI, and the AI creates an SOP, and then we put that SOP in their Google folder. So that way it's captured.
Yeah.
It's really cool. We do like Descript, not necessarily for SOPs specifically, but it's a really cool tool that can essentially create shorter videos and also take scripts from a video that if you put into the tool. We actually, believe it or not, John, we just hired a front row dad Isaiah, who's like a specialist in technology to help us know and be on the cutting edge of AI. So if you're listening to this, you might want to consider hiring a technology consultant like we just did, because it's changing so fast.
Oh, yes.
And obviously ChatGPT has been a game changer for us too. I should probably that goes unspoken, but I think it needs to be said.
Yeah. No, I think definitely having some tech wizard in your back pocket who can advise you on these things is super valuable. And by the way, I think that the best answer of all is when someone asks you what tech tool do you use, and you say, honestly, I don't know, because I'd have to ask my team. And before we wrap up, you mentioned Front Row Dads, which is how we met through each other. It's a group for, I think they say, dads who have a life and a business, or I forget exactly what the
family men with businesses versus businessmen with families. Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that community and what you've gotten out of it. It's a great community so far.
Yeah, it's a great group of like-minded individuals. There's 6 pillars. We focus on health, we focus on wealth, we focus on intentional parenting, focus on thriving marriage, we focus on business evolution, and we want to make sure that we're thriving in all areas, not just one, as men, as business leaders, as patriarchs of our household. And it's been remarkable just to have the resource of other like-minded men that are accessible. They're all trying to do the same thing, whether it's emotional intelligence or business intelligence or marriage, resources, homeschooling. I mean, tons of unbelievable dudes that all have one goal in mind, which is, let me make sure I'm showing up as a better man for my kids and for my partners that I'm doing life with. And it's I highly, highly recommend it. And if you're a dad listening to this, I would check it out. If you're not a dad listening to this, maybe you're a mom or a wife or spouse, I would kick them in the nuts and tell them, hey, you should go check out this community, because it makes them a better person for your home. So highly recommend checking out the community.
Before I get to my last question, which is my gratitude question, you touched on something earlier that I wanted to get back to, which was, you said that your coach eventually became your business partner. You don't hear that every day. How did that come about?
The short version is, I was his first client ever, from a cold LinkedIn message, by the way. And I was like, all right, I'll take the bait. I'll try it out. And from there, I just grew my business to a level that was unimaginable. And that's when I called him. Like I said, when I got out of the hospital, I was like, listen, I think we can help people do this. And so he's like, all right, cool. So we went 50-50 on the business. And we started that business 2022, like this sector of the business. And our first 11 months, we did 130 grand combined, in the first 11 months. And then since from December until now, we've been having 40 to 60K months from December until May. just because we're just locking arms, we're figuring things out. So it's almost like a glorified startup, but it has been unbelievably fantastic because he was going a little bit slower by himself, doing whatever he was doing. And we knew that we could go a lot further and faster together. So after those first 15, 16 months, I mean, we're really getting things humming right now. So
Yeah.
I would say that the big thing that separated myself from all the other people he's worked with was I was putting in all the work. He scaled the company in India from 6 million to 30 million. So he was in corporate and he started teaching entrepreneurs how to corporatize their business, me being his first client. I probably could have just said that, but yeah, I'm excited about what we're doing,
Yeah, and also a part of what you're doing now is actually placing virtual assistants admins inside of the clients that you work with. So talk a little bit about how that can really help free up people's time.
Well, it was a huge shift for me, John. Like if I didn't have a team of far offshore assistants doing a lot of admin for me, that was like a huge piece of the puzzle for me. So I am the avatar. So everyone we serve is me a couple of years ago. So the company that I got my virtual assistants from, I had to pay $2,500, and then I had to figure out how to hire them, like how to pay them, how to coach them, how to manage them. If they sucked, then I had to find a replacement and then train that new replacement. It was a pain. So I saw there was a pain point in the marketplace. I was like, how could we offer this to some of our clients that we're serving, that we're coaching? And we built a model that would be the ideal model that we would have loved. And now instead of giving one assistant, we give them 2 to 3 assistants. Instead of having to worry about the client paying them, we pay the VAs. They do a monthly subscription with us. We just like created it in a way that makes it really, really easy for a busy entrepreneur to just click a button, and we take care of all their admin stuff for them, as them, just not by them, and we help them win back. Each day we have an ongoing calculator, and we're saving our team anywhere between 80 and 120 hours a day, all of our clients. And we're on a mission right now is to calculate this and to help this group of people win back and reinvest 10 million hours over the next 20 years. That's our big, hairy, audacious goal, and have a tracker on this. And just really, that's 1,100 years of life of time is 10 million hours. So we're really excited about that because these people, these business owners, we believe entrepreneurs are the backbone of the change that we want to see in the world. And if they can have that time back and reinvest it into their marriages and into their kids or into their communities, it's like, what does that do for the divorce rate? What does that do for the suicide rate for their teens? And what does that do for the communities that we live in? I think the big positive change starts with those entrepreneurs. So we love serving this demographic and want to help them win back some of that time.
Yeah, I love that. Last question, Mike. I'm a big fan of gratitude, especially expressing gratitude to those who helped you along the way. So if you think about your contemporaries, others in your industry, maybe even mentors, you mentioned your coach turned business partner, who out there would you want to just give them a public shout out for thanking them for helping you along the way?
There's 3 men in particular. First one is Matt King, who was my original manager with Cutco when my mom died at 20. He really was there with me when a time I really needed him. And then when the market collapsed in my mid-20s, as I alluded to, he was there to just kind of help me put my head down and just work really hard. And just instilled a lot of that into me at a chapter of life I really needed someone. The second person is going to be Chris Kremitzos. Chris Kremitzos is here in Tampa. He was the inspiration of Grab Tomorrow. He gave me an hour of his time, even though I was a stranger, to show me how to build a brand and build a book and launch a book. And he was a great counsel and now a great friend. He runs Podfest. He's an incredible human. And the third one is Andrew Biggs is the third, who's now my business partner. When my wife and I decided to get married and then having to go through IVF due to male factor and having a stillbirth at 20 weeks and several miscarriages and then being in the hospital for that time frame, he's been just an absolute incredible support system for me to be able to offer perspective and have counsel and be there at those valleys that I really needed someone, and also be there at the peaks to celebrate with me as well. So those are 3 men that have had my back at real pivotal times in life where I needed someone. So,
Mike, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Where can people go to learn more about you and also learn about the services that your company provides?
Well, if they go to va.betterthanrich.com, they can set up a free consultation with one of our staff members, and a strategist will poke around their business with them, do the $1 per hour wage activity with them, and see if we can help them win back some of that time and put some of our virtual assistants and a team to work for them. And if not, they'll at least get value out of that complimentary call. So va.betterthanrich.com has that. And we have tons of free resources. We have our podcast. We have a free Facebook group, Automate, Delegate, Systemize on Facebook. And we would love to have anyone who's interested in this topic, join in the conversation and support. Automate, Delegate, Systemize.com is the website too. So we're really, you could probably get a theme there. We're really trying to own that in the marketplace, Automate, Delegate, Systemize. So
yeah, it's a great domain. Mike, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.